So I'm going to try a new camera angle. See if it works. It's precariously balanced. Anyway, it's a bit quiet on the old workshop shed outside front, but just to follow up on what I said about buying stocking fillers and tools for blokes, you know, for blokes and sheds, and so somebody's going to get this. I've got my own, so I'm just going to demonstrate this and see how we get on. This is the one with the Schreiber, how do they say it? Schreiber valve, shredder valve. So if your neighbour, this is really good for if your neighbour keeps parking where he shouldn't park in front of your house, you can sneak out in the middle of the night and let his tyres down and he wouldn't really know, would he? Well, anyway, how am I going to, hold on, my glasses have steamed up. We'll try another pair. Let's try another pair. Okay. So, I'm not, in this video, I'm not talking these down in any way, shape or form. I'm just talking this up. So I'm trying to show you why this is better than over these, but there's nothing wrong at all with these. And the reason I chose this was because it's been very useful, it's very handy for several reasons. Because this connects in and out, it carries all the bits within. All the bits, this comes out, look, and that comes out the handle, and then this has got this comes out of there, which then, so it gives you lots and lots of different ones, different types that you want, which is much the same as any other set really. There's nothing particularly unusual about that. Let's turn that the right way. However, first of all, it feels good and strong, you know, it's not an El Cheapo plastic type thing with a bit of a crummy handle. Where have we, there we are, like something like this one. It's much the same, but that's a nasty plastic handle. But they are very good, they're a very good thing to have, a very useful thing to have. And again, this saves a lot of space. Now I carry one of these separately on the bike. This takes the space. It's okay having a good set, but again, can you see how much smaller, how much less space this takes up? If you want to carry a multi-tip screwdriver with all sorts of bits on the end, and of course you can always change these for the bits that suit you. You know what I mean? You can always put the bit that you want in there. Another thing I was going to say, which I tried these to do it. It was a point I was going to say, and when I went to test the point didn't work. I was going to say that every time you open these boxes, the damn bits fall out. Well, they don't. But let's pretend they do. Let's pretend that they do fall out. Like this one. If you've got a case of them and they're in their holders, look. Spill the box. You've spilt them all, haven't you? They're everywhere. So losing it completely is losing it completely, but the most you can lose on this is one end. So let's say you did lose that end. You've still got quite a few still in there for you to use whenever you want. So it's such a useful little screwdriver. It does just fine. It does its job. It does what it's supposed to do. It does what it says on the box. It's a multi-use screwdriver of an acceptably, a pretty good standard, you know, an acceptable good standard. Where does this belong now? I've lost it. Does it belong over there? Yeah. So you can carry all your bits, and you're not likely to lose, or let's say, short of losing the whole tool, the most you're ever going to lose is this tip on the end. But you've always got some more in there, haven't you? Yeah. So anyway, so I don't know how many of these. I'm not allowed to tell you how many of these. We might have one, we might have more than one, but they're such a useful. I found this to be really useful, and it was recommended to us by Scoutcrafter, wasn't it? Our guru. Really well recommended. So there's that done out of the way. Ooh, and whilst I was watching Ben Tool Addict, and he was talking about watchmaking tools, and I believe this is a watchmaking tool, but I don't know what it is. You know, these sort of things that you pick up because they just look interesting. Has anyone ever seen one of those before? And what does it do? And it's got a slight springiness in there as well. Yeah, so does anybody know what that is? We're just doing a bit of a catch-up. Oh, by the way, I was watching Time Flies in the shop, and one of his friends had given him some sockets, and I passed the comment on that they're so useful, not as sockets. So I always, whenever I can pick them up in the car boots, in the markets, if you sort of want to calculate them in your head, give yourself a limit. You don't want to pay more than 10 pence each for them. You know, you buy them in buckets full of them. This lot here mainly this lot here, what's happened there? This lot here mainly were all rotten and horrible in a bucket, and it was nearly going home time, and he just purely didn't want to take the weight home. So I gave him a cheeky offer. He said to have the lot. Or I said how much for the lot. And here, so you might think of them as a socket, you might think of them as a name, you might think of them as a country, but I think of them, they're always useful if you want to. It's a tube. Whenever have you wanted a piece of steel that long, that thick? Whenever you're welding, making something up, inventing something, they can go over. You can connect if you want to make a universal joint. I'll show you in a minute what I've done with one. And it's got a hole in the middle. They're just a useful, good, strong piece of metal to be used in any way possible, usually with the welder. But I'm sure, you know, that would be a fantastic, it could almost be a bearing. You could run a shaft through there, couldn't you? Say for argument's sake, you wanted to you were making a go-kart, and your go-kart you wanted to put a shaft through a piece of wood to make a go-kart. Well, the steel shaft would soon wear away the wood, wouldn't it? But if you put your shaft, for argument's sake, inside a socket, obviously you'd find the right size and make it all fit. Doesn't that? And this would be jammed in your wood, and it would be running on there. It'd be running a lot better, wouldn't it? So you can do as much or as little as your mind takes. And I'll just show you. Let me get up and not fall over them whilst I'm passing them. Let me show you where I've used them. If you remember, I used one on this door, didn't I? Do you remember? This was my keep, and the hole in the keep was a bit big, so you can see, look, I've got a welder, I've got a socket, and I've welded it in. Obviously found the right socket to do the right job. And this works as a keep. I'm trying to do this one-handed again. Hold on. Let's use the old knee on it. This works. There we are. You know, this is the other end of my lock, isn't it? By the way, I've upgraded it, put a bit of rubber on the end. It's made a hell of a difference. It was slipping. It hasn't failed now, so I'm ready. Now I've tested it, my next job will be ready to seal this up. Because at the moment you can put your hand through there and reach. But my next job, now I've given it a few months of testing. The trouble is, you make something, and if it doesn't work, and if you're the other side of this door and just a pole, that's nothing you can do about it much, is there? So anyway, this adaptation has worked really well. And that's about it. Oh no, I used one here as well. Do you remember? This is again a homemade security thing. The spanner, I used a spanner, didn't I? And I put a socket on the end of the spanner to be able to weld this upwards, because I needed a universal joint here. So this was a spark plug, welded it onto the nut, created a used the universal joint, welded that to it. So you've got to think outside the box. I think we're pretty much up to date now. So yeah. So, a really useful, doesn't take up a lot of space. You can stuff it in your glove box, you can stuff it down the side of the wing, you can put it wherever, and it don't take the space of many others. And the worst thing that's going to happen is you might lose one end of it, but you've got all the others safely inside. And just a quickie that I missed, the Christmas cakes are finished. I have been testing them and I have been told off. Oh yeah. I have been testing them, and it's not quite hard yet, but it's getting there. Apparently it takes a while for the stuff to go rock hard. So I like the icing, I like the marzipan, but I'm not really into Christmas cake at all. But here are Debbie's Christmas cakes, finished. One for Debbie, one for Stephen.